Zeke Draker was born to a family of legendary dragon slayers, but he was quickly abandoned for being a useless cursed healer instead of the warrior his ancestors expected. Zeke chased power across the world until he found an ancient treasure that even the Emperor wanted. But finally, soldiers sent by the Emperor stepped in and brought him down. The wounds were so terrible that even his magic couldn't help him heal. But fate had different plans for him. The ancient relic he stole sparked a system that let him grow younger again while waking up powerful new abilities deep inside him. From this moment, Zeke's true journey starts at the Draker family's training school. But first we must learn that his ancestors are legendary heroes. For his great-great-great-grandfather Terrakhan once saved the world by killing the evil dragon Bahamut, a victory that made his family famous. Because of their noble family line, every Draker is born with a special aura gift that lets them easily become powerful knights. But everything changed when Zeke arrived, for unlike his ancestors who could harness aura, he was born without it, marking him as an outcast in his own family. Just as Zeke settles into his bed, completely at ease, the system window suddenly pops up and scares him. He instantly goes on high alert and listens closely to the strange noise. But when he checks the empty room and finds no one, he tells himself he probably just imagined it. Suddenly, a couple more system windows pop up to join the chorus. Among all the system windows, one special one shines with the most important news. Zeke's soul has fully merged with the Elder Dragon's will, and it now holds that ancient power. Before long, Zeke gets to control a piece of the system too. Instantly, his eyes are flooded with a flood of system windows the moment the activation finishes. The first window shows his class, skills, and a special draconian skill that needs 10 points to unlock, but he currently has none. With a spark of curiosity, he starts poking around the system and soon finds his way around how to use it. Out of everything in the admin window, his eyes keep drifting to the class skill because it's an ancient draconic term that shouldn't exist in this time. His master taught him that in ancient times, people were grouped by their strengths and trained special skills. So since Zeke is a healer, his power is called healing. After Zeke woke up, his female master pushed him so hard he nearly died, forcing him to heal himself from the pain she caused. So now he's testing if he can really be a healer like the system says. The moment he turns on his powers, he discovers he's actually a healer. He's shocked to see that in his previous life, he became a healer in his 20s, right after unlocking the Ether Hall. Since he can't heal unless his Ether Hall is open, it's clear that the door is already unlocked. This news couldn't be better. He stepped back into the past with his memories and skills still sharp, giving him an even better edge. Just as he decides to dig deeper into the system to find more surprises, a voice calls his name and knocks on the door, forcing him to quickly shove the computer windows out of sight before anyone looks. But the impatient visitor storms into the room without waiting for an answer. The man who just walked in is Decker, Zeke's personal servant, who has come to see if his young master is ready for the upcoming event. Zeke has no idea what kind of trouble is waiting for him. This terrifying man is furious and annoyed by Zeke's carelessness, especially since the young master forgot this special day, which pushes his butler to his limit. But the poor guy starts shaking uncontrollably under Decker's intense stare, because even though his mind belongs to a 32-year-old, his deep-down fear of Decker from his past life still holds him in its grip. In that very instant, Zeke's special, composed mind skill kicks in, instantly washing away his trembling and the fear from his face. Having a composed mind is a special skill that keeps you calm and steady in any situation. Zeke thinks it's a neat trick that the thing turns on by itself, while the butler keeps nagging him about the big event coming up, but Zeke just doesn't answer right away. After the butler nagged him for a while, Zeke finally listened up and admitted he remembered the pancration evaluation test. To truly understand pancration, you need to know that every fighter begins their journey in a special training place called the Cradle when they are just 7 years old. For 5 long years, they grind through the toughest basic training imaginable. Every year, instructors test new students in fierce sword fights and brutal, rule-free pancration matches where injuries are common and some don't survive. Yet the kids must fight with everything they have because their results decide which class they get to join. And on the big day, the whole group gathers in the amphitheater while the instructor reminds them that this final test is their last chance to prove themselves. The students cheerfully agree with their instructor, whose enthusiasm makes him smile. So the head instructor, Panmark, immediately jumps right into the lesson. Amidst the crowd, the students start to notice Zeke standing right in the middle of them. Some students can't help laughing at Zeke's return after the shame he faced last year. The duel kicks off with Aaron knocking his opponent out instantly with one punch. But Zeke isn't impressed since this feels like a breeze compared to the terrifying fights he survived in his past life. And while he yawns in boredom, a student named Leon Conrad can't wait to face him. Finally, Zeke's match begins, and his opponent is none other than Leon. As my guy rubs his tired eyes, Leon throws a jab that instantly brings back the shame Zeke felt last year. Zeke hasn't forgotten how he once begged Leon for forgiveness, And though those painful memories still hurt, they belong to the past now. Every year, Leon steps up to face Zeke as their rival. Our boy knows Leon is a dirty player from a trash family, so he's sure Leon rigged this match behind the scenes, and Zeke would rather have a biting dog than a cousin like him. In Zeke's past life, he never got to meet his 4 blood siblings, but he had to deal with a dozen cousins who loved to bully him. Suddenly, Leon shouts at Zeke again, trying to shame him by bringing up last year's loss and asking if that wasn't enough to scare him away from Pancration. But Zeke stays calm like a cucumber thanks to his cool head. Even though Zeke stays cool and calm, his patience has a limit, and he won't let anyone keep insulting him without paying a price. Well, our boy's answer just made that bastard even angrier. So Leon grabbed him by the head, but Leon's stupid move only got him a hard punch to the face that sent him flying away, thanks to Zeke's critical strike. This move deals heavy blows to the enemy, but if you miss your strike, you risk getting caught off guard. Zeke landed the perfect punch, leaving his opponent writhing in pain while Zeke regretfully realizes he only meant to knock him out, not unleash this power. The instructor dashes over to help the injured kid while yelling at our guy for fighting before the match started. But he just shrugs it off and asks why they waited for a command to begin when they were already standing in the arena. You see, whoever strikes first holds the upper hand, so he didn't hesitate to seize this chance, and while he speaks, his terrifying glare and overwhelming killing intent have the poor instructor shaking in fear. Meanwhile, Leon nods to the instructor, saying everything is allowed, and urges him to let the fight start. After all, if Lion backs down right now, it would be far too much of a shame to take. The moment the instructor shouts, Leon lunges blindly at his rival, and immediately takes a hard punch to the face. It was a shock to see that Zeke's punch barely hurt, even though Leon had been so scared of getting hit after the first one hurt so much. Seeing the punch land harmlessly only makes him think he's tougher than he really is, so he decides to relax his guard and believes Zeke won't be any danger anymore. Leon spots our boy switching to his left hand for a quick counterattack. So he dives low to seize the perfect chance, grabbing Zeke and slamming him to the ground. But suddenly, Leon got hit so fast we didn't even see it, and he was left shaking like a leaf. Even the coach on the side is totally confused, trying to understand how a 12-year-old just pulled off that amazing trick. The moment Leon slipped out of Zeke's reach and went for a takedown, the instructor knew Leon had the win in his pocket. Zeke punched Leon right in the chin and got away, leaving the big mistake on Leon for letting his guard down and thinking he had Zeke trapped, while Zeke stayed as cool as a cucumber even when his counter failed, proving that the focus and accuracy needed to land such a perfect hit is truly amazing. The instructor can't help but wonder if the man standing right in front of them is truly the Zeke Draker they once knew. But the bratty bully is completely knocked out by that brutal punch, his head spinning so badly that he can't even react before getting hit again and falling over. But he quickly steadies himself and hits back just as his special skill, a heightened sense that sharpens his vision, kicks in at the perfect moment. Thanks to this skill, Zeke watches the punch slow down to 960 frames per second, making it easy for him to dodge. Just as the punch whizzes by, Zeke snatches Leon's arm and slams him down to the floor. The impact was so violent it shattered the ground, instantly triggering Zeke's next skill, a precise stab that finds Leon's weak spots to deal massive damage. After slamming the bratty bastard to the ground, Zeke clenched his fist and smashed his face, even though Leon begged him to stop. The instructor is sweating bullets while the crowd watches in stunned silence at how brutal the act was. After beating his bully in this little battle, Zeke feels a wave of calm wash over him at the satisfying end of the fight. He feels good knowing his clever little show will make his other cousins think twice before bothering him again. It doesn't really matter, but if they talk or act, he'll make sure they shut up forever. It looks like that wasn't scary enough to make those clumsy guys tremble. A lazy, overconfident punk named Ken Vark challenges our boy to a fight and plans to let his punches do the talking, but Zeke doesn't mind at all and even jokes that he'd get bored if Ken came alone. So he invites a few other students to join in for some extra fun. Our boy points directly at another student, Liam Stone, and urges him to join JKEN, all while calling him nothing more than Jen's lackey. Feels like a slap in the face to JKE. The thought that he might need help to fight a kid like Zeke hurts his pride too much to even consider. But Zeke keeps pushing her buttons, making this flying piece of trash even angrier until Jen is ready to beat him senseless. With both fighters in the arena, the instructor warns Zeke not to move until ready, and Zeke is thrilled to see Jen bring his legendary mercenary, Liam, along. Back in the day, Liam started as Jen's servant at the academy but was ignored because he was only a distant relative, so even though he begged for a spot at the prestigious Academy Valhalla, he ended up in a small nation's knight order instead, and after that nation fell, he became a mercenary who, thanks to the power of his long service, grew into a famous Red Knight, founded the Stone Mercenaries, united the 3 biggest groups, and earned the title of Mercenary King. When the Empire called in the Stone Mercenaries, Liam stepped into the Continental Wars and found himself facing off against Zeke and the Northerners as a mighty enemy. This time, our boy is set on building a brand new kind of future for himself. The moment the instructor gives the signal, Jen leaps forward with a punch so hard it ripples the air around him. But not surprisingly, Zeke easily catches the punch and stops it like it's nothing. Jen swiftly pushes our boy's hand aside and kicks back, but the move turns against him and hurts him instead. The moment his kick lands, Jen feels a sharp pain and stumbles, only to realize he just smashed his leg against Zeke's tough elbow barrier. And while Zeke springs forward with a deadly punch ready, Jaken frantically throws his hands up to cover his face. Jen must have guessed wrong about Zeke, since our boy never meant to hit him in the face. Instead, he tags the bastard right on his hurt leg. After that trick, he connects with a hard punch right to the ribs. That's the kind of sight that would make Jen vomit blood until her stomach was completely empty. The arrogant fool finally hit the ground. With his head held high in anger, he orders his partner to finish our boy off right now. And finally, it's our boy's turn to face Liam. That tough guy walks right up with a scary look, but fighting Liam is tricky because his long arms make it hard for Zeke if Liam gets to hit first, so Zeke steps up and starts swinging back, using his special move called Slash to move so fast that he looks like a blur of shadows while landing non-stop hits that blind his opponent. The guys on the sidelines feel deep despair as they watch our boy, Zeke, be a jigachad they've never seen before, leaving them curious and confused. In a land where swords rule, a brawler's fists are a rare sight that strains his body, but even that isn't the hardest part. Liam's huge, scary body is what really pushes Zeke to the limit, forcing him to stand his ground and take every blow while you can just imagine how fierce Liam was when he ruled as the mercenary king. With no other way to hurt Liam, Zeke gathers all his strength for one last, massive blow that will smash right through Liam's defense. The moment our boy throws his punch, Liam slips out of the way and turns the attack back on him. What really makes Zeke furious is that the guy didn't even flinch or look at the punch, just dodged it like it was nothing, and in the next second, Liam grabs the chance to strike back. As Zeke gets tossed into the air just before a hard crash to the ground, he fights back and quickly hits Liam right on the head. His special ability kicks in to flip the fight, and he traps Liam in a leg choke that cuts off his air. But it turns out Zeke guessed wrong about how strong Liam really is. Liam fights back with a fierce, brutal rage, landing blow after blow that feels like a hammer strike. The non-stop punches make the poor guy choke up blood, but even as Liam's strength fades and he passes out from lack of air, the crowd hangs in shock, holding their breath at the insane fight they just witnessed. Among them, one student feels strangely thrilled instead of scared. He's buzzing with excitement, itching to step in and face Zeke. Once the pancration was done, our boy went back to his quarters where his servant asked if he was okay and mentioned the scary news that Zeke had been badly hurt in the fights. Zeke just shrugs and says he's fine, but the butler won't listen and insists on checking his pulse to make sure, secretly hoping to see if Zeke has finally awakened his special power. Finally, he reaches out to the servant, who instantly blasts a stream of blue light from his hand straight into Zeke's. The blue energy makes our boy stop and wonder if his servant could really be a blue knight. You see, while most folks just peek at a danchin to see if someone has awakened, this man is being oddly thorough, since pouring aura into another person is already a tough enough trick. But for an old man to wield it with such perfect control, he has to be a blue knight, proving that knights aren't all the same. They are sorted by how strong they are and how well they can control the power around them. The white swordsman is a beginner, and most kids before they get their special blessing start out this way. Once you awaken your aura and open your danshin at the cradle, you become a yellow swordsman, and learning to control that aura freely earns you the title of knight. The purple knight stage lets you charge your sword with aura, but you earn the blue knight title once you can shape that aura into a blade. Beyond this lies the red knight realm, a world where the mercenary king Liam and our boy once walked before his power faded. Then comes the black knight, yet only a handful of these terrifying beasts roam the whole land. Thinking about it, Zeke can't stop wondering how a servant so skilled and talented enough to lead an army ended up acting like a babysitter. And he's certain this guy can't possibly sense his ether, a power shared by only 2 people in the entire world. At last, the old man wraps up his check. He asks his young master in a firm voice if there's something he is hiding. Zeke keeps it cool and pretends not to know anything, but he cleverly asks the butler if he knows something that Zeke doesn't. The room falls quiet until our boy ruins the moment by saying he was just kidding, which makes the butler pause before he can't help but ask Zeke how much he has really changed. This made our boy stop moving. Zeke spins around with a sharp glare, realizing his butler asked the wrong thing since the real story isn't why he changed, but why it took so long, and he tells his servant to stop being shocked and just follow orders because even bigger surprises are waiting. The humble servant nods in agreement to his master's words, bows his head in respect, and steps forward ready to follow without asking questions. The butler tells Zeke that his training room is all set and waiting for him. Zeke feels good about the report and sends the old man away to finally get some rest. As our boy walks off alone, he worries his butler is watching him. So he decides to keep the old man close to twist the situation and get the answers he needs, while still trying to figure out if his mother's side did it or if one of his own siblings ordered the watch. As soon as Zeke steps into the opulent personal training room, he realizes the family truly lives up to its name, and before he begins his workout, he decides to check the system. A command flashed, and the system panel popped up to show his slash skill had finally leveled up from all those times he'd used it. His special talent just kicks in whenever he moves, and even picking up new tricks automatically adds them to his powers. He's still confused about how a skill differs from a class skill, even though he sees them both kick in on their own. Right at the end, he sees a skill called Draconian, but he can't see it yet since he needs 10 points to unlock it. So he clicks the button and a new window pops up telling him he can earn karma points by killing monsters, with his current total sitting at 0. Zeke thinks about the many monsters hiding in the dungeons, but he needs to become a purple knight before he can go in. For now, he's driven by curiosity about why he traveled back in time and what the strange system is, wondering if his new abilities and classes might somehow link to an ancient relic deep in his mind, even though he doesn't have enough clues to be sure yet. No matter what happens, he grabs his sword and uses every bit of strength he has to get stronger. In this world, only 2 powers exist. Knights strengthen their aura deep within dungeons, while mages polish their mana inside magical circles. The 2 powers are like opposite ends of a spectrum, so you can only have one, but Zeke woke up with neither a dantian nor a circle, which caused his family to cast him out and left him wandering until he finally found his master. His master taught him many things, but the most valuable was the art of healing and the unique ether hall technique that let him harness nature's energy, making him and his master the only ones in the world who could do it. After just 2 hours of training, Zeke feels like he's about to fall apart. But his healing power works hand in hand with his vigor recovery skill to bring him back to life. Zeke never knew a healer existed until his master taught him that incredibly rare skill. If anyone else saw him use it, they'd call him strange. That's why he kept his power in his pocket during his battle with Liam and had to dash back to his room to heal right away. Once Zeke feels strong again, he jumps right back into practice, knowing that every second he waits is a second he can't afford to lose. By morning, Zeke is worn out after non-stop training. The hall is scarred with deep gashes and sword trails showing his hard work. But a week later, Zeke finds students in the Cradle cafeteria talking about him. They think he's become a stranger now and, since he's always been a loser, they believe he must have tried black magic. Meanwhile, in a quiet room elsewhere, the big shot students are all eating dinner together. Raina Terran is the first one digging into the steak. Then there was this guy named Owen Zimmons who stayed cool and collected. Sitting across from him is a battered Leon, acting wild and impatient, while Owen tries to warn him that he needs to eat well to have the energy for their sword fight. But Leon suddenly snaps in anger and slams his hand so hard on the table that his juicy steak drops to the floor. That loud crash on the table was so shocking that Raina's steak flew right off her plate and landed on the floor, leaving her absolutely furious. Her fierce, unblinking stare finally made Lion feel a bit smaller. It seems all 4 students hate our boy, which is why they stick together, but they don't really get along well even though they're in the same group. The only thing holding their friendship together is how they both hate Zeke. Owen admits Zeke was brave and impressive during the pancration, but he's sure Zeke will be pathetic with a sword since he doesn't even know how to hold one properly. One character notes that Zeke is so weak he needed a custom-made sword because the standard ones were too heavy for him. Yet Leon refuses to believe this, insisting Zeke only beat him with luck, while Raina clearly sees things differently. If they truly believe this nonsense, then none of them has earned the title of knight within the Draker household. And with that sharp declaration, the lady turned and walked out of the room. Before we reach the day of the fight, let's take a quick look at what this sword duel is really about. While pancration uses training weapons, real sword duels are the main source of trouble in Cradle and show just how skilled the cadets really are, leading up to the blessing right month after exams when Drakers will awaken their aura. The big day has come, and the instructor steps forward, calling on Zeke to face the duel next. A guy strolls right into view with a sword so huge, he has to rest it on his shoulder just to keep it from dragging on the ground. Everyone finds it funny that Zeke thinks going bigger will somehow make him stronger. Raina steps up from the other side, looking totally ready, and dramatically throws down the gauntlet to challenge our boy to a duel. My guy is totally ready to take on this challenge without even hesitating for a second. Raina feels uneasy seeing Zeke lift the claymore so easily, because the Zeke standing before her now isn't the one she knew who could barely hold a sword. His presence is so overwhelming that she feels scared at first, but she shakes it off instantly, furious at herself for even thinking she could be intimidated, knowing she can't back down now since she issued the challenge. Zeke's heart races as he realizes his usual tricks won't work against the terrifying Lightning Knight, making the duel feel like a nightmare he's about to face. Reborn, the legendary lightning knight from her past life, became famous in the Continental Wars as a top-tier Draker who awakened her special aura long before she was officially blessed. Zeke recalls that she must have awakened her aura a few years ago, but she has been keeping it hidden in Cradle while she works on sharpening her basic skills. The moment the signal sounds, the two duelists swing their swords at each other instantly. After their first clash, Reina pulls back just a moment before surging forward to hit him again. With one hard hit, she sends Zeke sliding backward. Just those two quick hits were enough to show our boy that she was even tougher than he thought. The fierce woman lunges at him again, slashing her sword so fast it sparks with fire, while her friends behind her grow restless and urge her to end it all in one final blow instead of wasting time. But one of the smarter folks steps in to tell the fools that Rei isn't just messing with them. It's Zeke who is in charge, making her move wherever he wants. Now looking from her own eyes, she spots exactly where Zeke's defense is weak. Yet, every time she tries to use them against him, his sword stops her so quickly it feels like he is clapping for her efforts. What makes it even more annoying is that after stopping one hit, he purposely leaves another opening for her to attack. It feels like this fight isn't really about who wins. It's all meant to teach her. After a few back-and-forth exchanges, Reina finally steps back, completely drained and needing to catch her breath before trying again, while Zeke remains fresh, bored, and unimpressed. She throws her punches with pure, unadulterated skill, proving that someone who worships the basics can still stand tall without any flashy power. Now that they're at it, he decides to help her break out of her shell, so he drops into a very low stance as if he's about to close the distance in one move, but Rei, confident in her own speed, doesn't even think about it. In the split second it takes to blink, Zeke closes the distance and stands right in front of her before she can even move, swinging his massive sword so hard that it cracks the ground beneath him. But the girl believes that as long as they keep their distance, she can always counter his every move. Zeke swings his sword at the air, but the debris he sends flying hits her right in the nose and knocks it up. Next, Zeke lunges at her, his huge sword held high in one hand. She watches the gleaming sword edge hover just inches from her throat and knows she has nothing left to lose. Just when you think you've got it figured out, Zeke's sword suddenly flies out of his hands and lands on the ground a few feet away. With that, the crowd quickly crowns Zeke the loser and praises Reina for winning without even tapping into her aura. But the instructor realizes something is wrong, and his face freezes in pure horror, as if he just discovered he has more than one dad. What the cadets missed was that as Zeke lunged at Rei, she tapped into just a whisper of her aura, so faint it was nearly gone. It's crazy that Zeke made her use her aura against her promise not to, until she got into the academy. Reina stands frozen, her face twisted by doubt and regret over the promise she broke. Zeke suddenly lunges at her and punches her right in the throat, showing her that this fight isn't finished. She bends double over her knees, blood leaking from her mouth. The other cowered in the cavea fumes because they expected a fair sword fight and despise such cheap tricks. So everyone points a finger at Zeke with shame as they call him a disgrace for pulling off such a stunt. In the middle of all the noise and insults, Zeke just keeps on going. He quietly asks Rei if she wants to keep going. Rei refuses to admit defeat, insisting he hit her only because she let her guard down. As she thinks about it, a chilling truth hits her. If he'd swung a knife instead of punching, she'd already be dead. For that reason, she decides to leave the game with her head held high. The crowd, who had been laughing at Zeke just seconds before, suddenly froze in shock. Zeke Draker, once called trash by everyone, just knocked out the talented kid from a famous family, leaving the crowd in shock that even the Lightning Knight, Reborn, could be beaten. The story moves to Abel's castle. Outside, the fierce fight has finally stopped, and the pit is now covered with fallen bodies. William stares in shock at the terrible scene, baffled to see Abel sipping his tea with zero worry. Abel stares at a letter that tells him Zeke Draker beat the prodigy, Reina. He stands up and checks how much time is left until the full moon's blessing arrives, noting they have plenty of time. Abel feels it's right to pay a visit to the Draker family, but William is surprised when he decides to go alone. But this swordmaster can't wait to see what kind of awakening the youngest family member is going through. Though Zeke's win left everyone in the cradle speechless, he didn't care about his big moment and just went back to training without even celebrating. 1 month later, the day of the blessing finally came, but Zeke still couldn't figure out how he ended up as a Red Knight in his past life, especially since his body was so terrible. After finishing his training, he opens the status window and finds his mastery skill has reached the expert level, just as he hoped. What's even cooler is that every time a skill gets a new rank, its mastery resets, which explains why he now has so many skills at the lower D and E tiers, and he's already pushed his mastery on Swiftstep's ability, the exact same one he used to beat Reina. Thanks to his sharp senses, he notices the butler is watching him. Decker tells his master they must leave in 2 hours for the event, and Zeke thinks it's time to get ready. Zeke hasn't stepped foot in the main house since forever. He's heading to the Draker family home in the Duchy of Troy. Though the family lives in the middle of the continent, the special right to bless is kept at the very spot where the Dragon Slayer's legend began. After Zeke reaches his destination, he steps out of the carriage and into the dragon's nest. Once he stepped inside, he suddenly understood something important. The folks here are super famous VIPs. He knows with a sinking heart that some of those people are spies sent to watch him. Zeke is convinced that everything will work out perfectly, even though he knows his sudden awakening will soon backfire on everyone. That's when he sees a specific man standing there. There was a man whose mere presence made the blood in your veins boil. That man is Abel, shaking hands while saying he wasn't keen on coming to the event. Except for his youngest brother, there is only one other person Zeke knows well. The second Draker's son, who is called the Lion Blade but carries the terrifying nickname the Butchering Knight. Our little boy tries hard to stay calm in front of his older brother, since he simply doesn't have many choices left. Because the second son finally watched Zeke receive his blessing in a past life. His actions at the pancration competition changed the course of what was to come. With a tight grip born of anger, Zeke finally sees a way out for himself. Soon enough, the blessing ceremony is getting underway. Aaron is asked to step forward as the first warrior, and he quickly dips his arm into a magical pool, filling it with glowing blue energy. As the ritual blessings begin, every member of the Draker bloodline wakes up their sealed aura right when they turn 12 and leave the cradle, making Aaron the first to ever do it. Unlike ordinary knights who don't wake up until they are over 20, the Draker family awakens in a flash. Among the few dragon slayers with an aura, some awaken a special trait called mana inhibition that makes the mana lamps flare up with angry red sparks. Those who get mana inhibition grow so powerful they can stand toe-to-toe with the legendary red and black knights. They call this moment pure blood awakening. Because of their mana inhibiting trait, the candidates must wear special family-made gloves, or they'll never live a normal life. This is how it looks for Reyna, who is already awakened and always wears her gloves. Once you prove your blood is pure, you earn the Draker name and a lifetime of support and perks to back you up. The crowd whispers with excitement as the most expected challenger finally steps forward, and everyone believes this child will awaken with a power even greater than Reyna's. Zeke steps up to the statue and realizes with a start that he's ended up here again. That scary thing that happened to him back then is still weighing on him. While his blessing was the only thing that let him move through the cradle, today he walked away with nothing but embarrassment. But now reality has changed because he can heal, control ether, and has become tough and strong, so he expects the bronze statue to help him, and when he puts his arm in the pool, the statue shakes and stops suddenly, shocking everyone and leaving even Abel speechless since this has never happened before. As the boy pulls out his arm, he knows deep down that nothing has changed from before. It was all because of Abel that he rushed to judgment and got too sure of himself. Everyone else is just stunned that the person everyone was waiting for never woke up. Everyone mocks him for sleeping while he is a true descendant, and they all think his win against Reyna was just a lucky trick. But since our boy has no extra strength left, he chooses to get stronger by unlocking other powers instead. The system suddenly stops and apologizes to him after something goes wrong. Zeke stared in confusion as the system told him his class ID was missing key details, which immediately grabbed his attention. The system confirmed the input was complete, telling him his talent was a healer, which instantly unlocked his class and gave him access to a rare one. Zeke stares in shock as the statue suddenly glows red, showing that a pureblood has finally woken up. Everyone is shocked that he begins his story as a red knight right from the very first step. The system links up and opens the ancient dragon's power hiding inside Zeke's soul. While all of this is going on, Abel watches his brother with a calm and steady eye. Kin's special gift wakes up first, then his own powers blend together to create something brand new. There is so much happening that Zeke doesn't understand, especially when the system surprises him by giving him a special new class called the Immortal. The golden glow around him catches the crowd's eye, making them wonder if that red light from the statue was real or just a trick. Zeke sees things clearly now and knows arguing with them is a waste of breath. They wonder if the statue is broken, yet the mana lamp's strange reaction proves there's no mana blockage, so they insist it must be a pure blood awakening after all. That is when Abel starts clapping to mock the crowd for not congratulating the newly awakened purebloods all at once. He sees this as a chance to ring in the party rather than whispering his worries. Since they can't argue with him, they give them a round of applause. Abel insists on getting a pair of gloves ready for his young brother. Zeke takes the gloves, but he doesn't think much of them. He turns and walks away, leaving Abel smiling at everything he just saw. Our boy is furious that everyone helped Abel. The blessing will soon be over, making way for a party that everyone is invited to enjoy. Zeke is busy grinding like a lone wolf and has no desire to show up to the party. He halts in his tracks the moment a voice shouts his name. Zeke didn't expect Abel to suddenly appear, which completely threw him off. He asks the kid where he's headed and then shakes his hand to say congratulations. Even though he hated his older brother, shaking his hand here was the only way to avoid getting into trouble. So he puts on a friendly act and reaches out to shake his hand. That's when a bloody memory from his past life suddenly flashes in his mind. For some reason, Zeke pulls his hand back and stays quiet, while Abel shows his dark side by blaming his little brother for the awkward mess. Deep down, Zeke refuses to shake the hand of a man he thinks is utterly repulsive and evil. Abel barely cared and just waved goodbye. He knows he'll see him later, so he keeps moving without bothering him too much. Zeke nods and tells him he's ready to meet his brother too. As the party buzzed with talk about the two purebloods waking up, everyone was still puzzled by Zeke's strange golden light, since it had never happened before. They start to worry because he has vanished from sight. We spot Zeke peeking out from another room, clearly needing a break after barely making it through that suffocating party. He still can't figure out why he's the only one who isn't affected. The pureblood awakening carries a mana inhibition trait that shows the Draker family's hatred for dragons, the very source of all mana. Even though mana powers most machines, purebloods must wear special gloves to do the same. If Zeke is truly a pureblood awakener, he should have struggled the moment he took off his gloves. Yet right now he seems fine. This makes him open the status window to find that instead of blocking mana, he now has a special power called mana reflection. Zeke, feeling curious, dives right into the finer details of the skill. There, he finds out that mana reflection makes a special bubble that cancels out all the magic around it. It counts as a skill and won't work with the mana lamps because it doesn't act on its own. He was once known as a rare healer before the blessing, but now he's confused to be called a unique immortal, especially since everyone else at the ceremony is glowing blue with normal powers. Everyone was the same except for Ray, who was the lone exception and woke up with the rare red pure blood power. The same thing happened to our boy, but eventually his life turned to gold. The system warned Zeke that it was missing the key details to classify the bronze statue as the awakening terminal. Just as the data flooded the terminal, the statue roared to life and blazed with red light. Things are finally clicking into place. Zeke thinks the statue isn't testing who has awakened, but instead judging your class, where red means you're rare and gold means you're one of a kind. Beyond being a relic from before Taken's time and the era of the Draker family's founder, the statue now serves one clear purpose: to tell the awakened apart from everyone else, since the old idea of class is long gone. They've mistaken the red light for a simple blood awakening, not realizing it means they've reached a rare class, and the clan head doesn't even know it yet. It turns out Zeke just earned himself 100 karma points. He wonders if he got them at the ceremony, then quickly decides to use them by buying the draconian skill. As the purchase settles in, the system fills up with new data, gifting him a fresh set of beginner powers like dragon eyes, the might of a dragon, and the ability to devour. The first two ideas click for him, but the last one doesn't, since it's just there to help him digest. He refuses to waste his points on a risky guess, so he chooses the safe dragon eyes and dragon might instead. The second skill is riskier because it calls upon your aura. So, he turns on his dragon eyes to see what makes it so special. Zeke feels a bit undermined because his surroundings offer him nothing new or exciting to notice, until he swings open the window to gaze at the garden statue, unlocking a superpower that lets him zoom in on distant things like they're right in front of him. Plus, he can peek at all the hidden details of whatever he's looking at. Every detail of the statue's shape rushes through his mind like a flood of new knowledge. The power drains him so hard that his body breaks down and he ends up completely wiped out. Zeke worries his powers won't help much if the cost is so high. Luckily, his amazing ability to heal kicks in and washes away his exhaustion. What really surprised us was that Zeke didn't even try to heal himself. It just happened all on its own. He looks at the system screen and sees that all his class skills have turned into passive powers and even leveled up. His healing power fixes his body without causing the activation to start. That move was just as good as the one he did before. Even though healing feels too powerful to be true, you can't just keep using it over and over. If things had gone differently, he never would have died. Meanwhile, his power to heal is endless. To prove his new power, he slices his arm with a blade, only for the cut to vanish instantly, leaving no scar. Though it normally takes 5 years to graduate from the academy, the confident Zeke believes he can finish the job in just 2. Nestled in the Duchy of Troy, the legendary Draker Academy draws so many eager knights that they'd sell anything just to earn a spot, blooming with fresh energy every time a new semester begins. As Zeke walks among the crowd, he realizes that the high-ranking students are just as grown up as adults, yet they feel like spoiled children compared to his own troubled family. Among the many branches that help the Draker family, 3 stand out as the most powerful and are known as the Great Families. The first one is the Ton of Strength, and Reina is a piece of it. The second family is the Zimmons, who are known for their wisdom. And finally, there is the Vark family of gold. Zeke ignored the kids from the 3 families and didn't even spare a second to think about them. The scene shifts to the fancy bedroom inside the big platinum mansion. This fancy dorm has a training hall, an amazing library, and all the best things, just for the top students. For pure blood awakeners, there's a special perk. They get to master the platinum floor. A maid welcomes our boy and shows him to the floor where others are already waiting. After a tiring arrival, Zeke feels surprised to see so many people even though he has been awakened as a pure blood. He was told that Decker is waiting for him in the other room. Without wasting a moment, Zeke rushes to meet the butler, who has something important to show his master. He surprises him by handing over the fancy gloves he was holding right when he woke up. He's traded in his old gloves for new ones, but Zeke is already dreaming of a fresh sword to swing. He grips his blade while the butler holds it steady, completely unfazed. The Duchy of Troy sits right at the foot of the mountains. That's why it's filled with strong iron and talented workers who become a lasting source of strength for the graduates. Decker wants to find a craftsman for the young master, but Zeke insists he can handle it himself. He really wants to meet them face to face, so he asks Decker to set up a time to visit ahead of time. Butler has never heard of Gallion Halbert, but he plans to reach out to him for a meeting very soon. Meanwhile, he tells Zeke to go over the papers before his first class starts tomorrow. Later that day, Zeke was busy checking his notes when he noticed something really interesting. He steps onto the special platinum floor to practice his new draconian powers and grow stronger. The maid rushes in to tell the young master that Ray is inviting him to dinner, and Zeke, surprised by the news, quickly packs up to go say hello. He walks up to her floor and stops in his tracks, confused to see Reina acting like Al Capone. She greets him warmly and says sorry about the strange dinner arrangement. Zeke doesn't mind and pulls up a chair to sit down. First, they decide to grab a bite to eat before getting down to some serious talking. Watching her from across the table, Zeke sees her gathering power deep in her belly even in such a casual place. And while he wonders if she's aiming to become a purple knight to explain her sharp sword skills, he thinks it's a real waste of her talent. After finishing their meal, Zeke felt wiped out and shocked that she had eaten so much, but now she was ready to get straight to the important part. Ray stands by his side and gives him all the backing of the Tarun family. Zeke believes it's a mistake and points out they are both pure-blood awakeners, but she shoots back and insists he is the one who is wrong. As pure-bloods, they get fancy perks like a platinum floor, but they don't get to grow as much. This brilliant academy holds centuries of knowledge and offers personal guides to help you grow, because without them, you will fall behind, which is why Ray insists that family support is absolutely vital. She embodies Abel Draker, the youngest pure-blood of the family to ever become a white knight and one of the strongest black knights, who even earned the backing of the Zimmons family. Even though the head of the Terron family hasn't explained why, he still demands that his family support Zeke Draker, and Ray tries again to make her point, only for our hero to gently brush her feelings aside and say no. This shock hits her hard because she simply can't believe that the deal is actually bad for him. Zeke stands up and turns to walk away, saying he only cares about being a pure-blood awakener and nothing else. To repay her for the meal, he offers one personal piece of advice. Zeke says her sword is far too strong, and he thinks it must be connected to the men standing behind her. Zeke says her superpower is how her body can bend and change to fit any situation. He warns her not to rush straight into a fight against her rivals. Instead, she should let her smooth motions guide her foes into taking only one sharp hit. Zeke is sure that if she can do that, she'll just keep getting much stronger. Saying that, he walks away, leaving her frustrated because she'd been relying on her family's strength up to this point. Even so, Ray couldn't ignore the truth in Zeke's words, knowing she had spent all her life trying to prove herself worthy of her family's name, a drive that had shaped the way she fought with her sword. Reina was called a genius when she was young, but nobody ever taught her anything. This moment changed how she saw Zeke Draker, and as he reflected on his newfound powers, he realized that even a whole night of training couldn't tire him anymore, since he now had endless energy that would let him outlast the entire universe. Before, this very place was pure hell for him. With his new powers, Zeke is finally chill, savoring a quiet peace that money or power can never buy. Just as he was going about his day, the Zimmons family representative walked up to him. Owen, the family's third son, is a master at twisting people to get his way. He blackmailed and bullied our boy in his past life. Interestingly, he invited Zeke to a dinner just to get rejected, but surprisingly, Owen is acting way too friendly in this life. Zeke finally figures out which letter he means and tosses off a sharp, sarcastic comment. Owen asks why he didn't answer, But Zeke coldly says he doesn't care about the messages from that guy. Owen's friend stares at him, shocked that he can say such a blunt thing in response to a polite offer. Zeke pulls out the "Who are you?" card, and honestly, he's too lazy to even pretend to know him. So, he walks away knowing that this show-off is just trying to look tough to get down on Owen. It is shocking that this jerk has the nerve to jump Zeke without a warning. He somehow blocked the attack even though the opponent was using magic to control his energy. Durbin Roswell shouts his name with pride, boasting that he is the strongest of them all, or at least the mightiest refrigerator in the world. The youngest Draker just laughs at the man's speech, mocking him for not even being a knight or even a cadet. Zeke darts forward with blinding speed and hits the guy's stomach with a punch so hard it feels like a Mike Tyson knockout. Zeke smacks his opponent's face into the dirt and cheerfully calls the next Simmons family member over to take a hit, only for Owen to step closer and say he's not impressed by Zeke showing off. The group walks away, leaving Zeke alone to see them as nothing more than a traveling circus act. For a moment, let's peek inside Draker Academy, which is split into two groups. The normal class for those without talent who must rely on hard work and strict discipline to succeed. The second class is where the best students pick their own subjects, a place for the elite that Zeke expected to see amazing people in, but instead it's just filled with familiar faces from his old school so much so that he jokes it's not a special class at all, just a cradle class. The teacher stands at the front, smiling with excitement as they introduce someone truly special to the class. This enigmatic figure was the Empire's own commander-in-chief 20 years ago, and the brilliant mastermind who stopped the Empire's invasion with flawless tactics. Everyone warmly welcomed Dean Howard Draker, the man who runs this academy. Howard, hailed as a war hero, is worshipped as a beacon of hope and admired as the perfect example of tactical fighting. In truth, the reality behind his fame is far darker than it seems, because the lucky break he got in a tight spot came from accidentally giving the enemy secrets just to save his own skin. In the end, he's just a lucky sellout who made it out alive to enjoy the fame. Zeke hates him with a burning fire, insisting that this man is the one who kicked him out of the academy the first time. With nowhere left to turn, Zeke wandered lost through the Duchy of Troy. There, slave traders caught him and sold him to the Southern Cartel. This man exists only because of a terrifying memory in our hero's mind, and he's going to smash that fat geyser for revenge one day. As the dean finishes speaking, the teacher steps up to start the lessons, and the cadets are told to rush to the arena for indoor training right away. Deep inside the training arena, Zeke feels utterly confused by the need to sit through boring lessons on how to kill dragons. After all, in his past life, he couldn't use aura and wasted 2 whole years when it normally takes the average person just 3 months. But now the instructor, the Rose Knight Andre Draker, welcomes the students and tells them he'll be teaching them the basics of dragon slaying. The students feel let down because they know almost nothing about this guy. The name suddenly brings back a memory for Zeke. He remembers that Andre isn't a pureblood awakener from a noble family, yet his talent was so amazing he graduated early, earned a legendary title, and even took on the Draker family name, making him the exact type of man your girl says you shouldn't worry about. Zeke confides that while the special class teachers are all different, this one guy is famous for his terrible attitude. So Andre asks everyone to hush up so he can begin the lesson. He watches the cadets pull out their swords and get ready for practice. His eye spots Zeke's huge sword, which looks way bigger than all the others. Zeke shows just how effortless it is for him to wave around. Andre's calm face tells him it's time to step into the arena. He thinks the boy is being too proud to pick a sword that is too heavy for him to hold. Zeke knew exactly what the teacher was saying and chose the sword to make it happen. He brags with a smug grin that he could take down the instructor using the very same weapon. That bold challenge really shook Andre to his core. The air grows so thick with tension that the system steps in, giving our hero a special mental shield to help him hold his ground. Andre smiles and reaches for his sword so the boy can try something real. But that's exactly what Zeke had been hoping for. The instructor sets a special deal for Zeke's success. He'll ignore the boy's proud talk, let him do whatever he wants in class, and even skip using his power against him. But that just feeds right into Zeke's hands, who is so sure he can beat Andre because he knows exactly where the other man is weak. But since his brother is watching him closely, Zeke won't risk getting noticed again like he did last time. So, he plans to nick a tiny hole in Andre's shirt right before calling it quits. The fight starts instantly when Zeke swings wildly at his teacher's neck. Andre blocks the hit even from so far away, showing the power of a blue knight, and Zeke knows this battle is going to be really hard. He zips around and strikes from all sides, only to be easily blocked by his teacher's lightning-fast reflexes. The other cadets are completely baffled to see how the knight can keep blocking Zeke's hits for a full 30 minutes without breaking. Andre's blade trembles as his body slowly gives out. He simply can't believe the boy keeps going and never gets tired. Even though he is holding back his strength, the battle is starting to get hard for him. This proves just how incredibly gifted the Draker family's pureblood awakeners are. They're so good that comparing them to anyone else feels unfair. Zeke is taking advantage of Andre's weak stamina to beat him. His aura was unique, a trait that made every Draker stand out. It must be turned on for everything from work and sleep to breathing, becoming so natural you wouldn't even notice it. Because Andre is so used to keeping his aura on, he feels strangely weak and out of place when he tries to hold it back. That's the one thing that helps Zeke beat his instructor. Andre blocks the cadet's sword for the last time, yet Zeke still won't quit. He refuses to go down like this. His pride insists that his rival must be pushed into using aura. Zeke shifts his plan from finding openings to forcing Andre to use his aura no matter what. In other words, it's a pretty extreme situation. He flips back to the ground and instantly darts ahead with incredible speed, activating his swift step skill. Andre gets completely swamped by the cadet's super fast moves. Zeke strikes from his blind spot with a powerful critical hit, leaving Andre wondering how a cadet could possibly use such an advanced skill. The moment he turns toward Zeke, he shifts his weight onto his feet and dodges the attack in a flash. Andre doesn't hesitate, slams his sky slice attack, and sends the cadet flying. The attack was so fierce it chipped Zeke's sword and wounded him badly enough to make his healing power kick in. Even with his healing power failing him, he falls to the ground as Andre sheathes his sword and walks away, frustrated. He announces that Zeke is out of the class and asks if anyone else wants to take his place. With everyone too terrified of Zeke's wrath to speak up, school goes on for the rest of the class while our boy lies in a hospital bed, staring at how his plan backfired by forcing Andre to see his own power. It was a great win because his teacher learned a hard lesson in the fight. So, the last strike Andre landed was actually the simplest move in the dragon-slaying arts. Though the Sky Slice is a simple move, it became a terrifying monster when powered by a blue knight. Yet Zeke feels proud for holding his own against such strength, confident his endless stamina and healing have pushed him to that level. But having just those two things isn't enough to build a life full of freedom. He craves a true freedom that only overwhelming power can give, the kind of strength that would make his superiors useless to him. While the boy is lost in thought, a drunkard stumbles by, sees that he is the youngest son of the Draker family, and stops to check on him. Our boy jumps at the sight of the drunkard's face, since you never expect a wasted man in a hospital ward. He didn't just miss the man's presence. He even mouthed terrible insults about the head of the Draker family. Zeke tries to ask who he is, but the drunkard just keeps shooting more booze into his arm. The man couldn't help but ask the boy all about his amazing power to heal. After all, he barely managed to pull through with such a deep wound inside him. The system checks everything and switches on mental shields to protect him. Zeke won't move because he knows for sure that no one at the academy knows about his secret healing power. He acts like he doesn't know anything, which makes the man try really hard to attack the boy. Zeke barely manages to slip away from Zeke's palm strike, which is so sharp it could cut through a mattress. This makes him suspect the guy might be an assassin. Zeke shoves the bed sheet over the lunatic's eyes and realizes the danger is now too great. He unleashes every single skill he has left to launch a full-force attack. Even though he can't see and doesn't know what's happening, the man grabs the boy's blade and tells him he's really good at adapting. Zeke scrambles backward, heart pounding, wondering what Zeke could possibly mean by mercenary. He thinks the mysterious stranger holds the truth about his past, and after watching Zeke sacrifice his sword to save his own life, he realizes he's better off as a mercenary than a knight. So when the man's words finally click, the strange feeling settles his doubts for sure. The difference in strength between them is so massive that the man could easily kill Zeke if he showed up for this. Yet he thinks Zeke is just as weak as a red knight, pointing to his heavy claymore as if it were a simple item from a basic supply drop and wondering why someone with such crazy talent would waste it on such a basic weapon. The hero is sure the man might be even stronger, but suddenly, Andre shows up hunting for the mysterious stranger. He surprises Zeke and shouts for the garden keeper, Dexter. Zeke can't believe what he's seeing while Dexter wonders how Andre found him, and since the knight remembers seeing Dexter at the training room earlier, he tells Zeke to go away if he's healed. So our boy tries to leave awkwardly, but Dexter stops him and invites him to the academy's western greenhouse to learn something useful. Everyone falls quiet for a heartbeat, but then Zeke sneers and stomps out of the room. Dexter gets irritated and thinks back with sadness, remembering how Zeke's dad used to act so full of himself. Now that Zeke isn't an easy fool, he instantly connects the dots. If the gardener speaks Arthur's name so casually, he must be the one man who ever took Andre as a student. Duke Draker was a legendary knight known as the Gale Knight. He's one of the few knights who can wield martial force, and that crazy man once faced down an entire kingdom all by himself. The guy who had suddenly vanished and become a town legend turned up at the academy living quietly, which completely caught Zeke off guard, leading him to wonder if Dexter was the real reason Andre ended up there too. He wonders if Dexter earned his Duke title through sheer stubbornness, just like the rumor that a madman became a Black Knight only because he was obsessed with the color black, which sounds impossible to believe. Even though Zeke knows the Duke wants him, he doesn't care because he's looking for more than just a quick lesson. He's so hungry for power that he vows to learn the man's secret move to become Dexter's student. So Zeke smiles and turns his greed into stubborn determination. At the Magic Academy, Professor Phantom stumbles through his lesson and awkwardly asks if anyone wants to ask a question. The entire class drifts off to sleep from boredom, leaving the professor feeling pretty discouraged. He keeps talking while the hero raises his hand to ask a question about the mana rule the professor just explained. Phantom gets so excited from asking his first question that he suddenly starts acting all weird. He slows down to make sure Zeke understands every single thing. Once class finally ends, the students wonder why they're learning magic theory while others just call it nap time. But Zeke thinks differently because he understood everything easily and believes the professor is truly capable. Phantom grabs him and pours out his heart. He felt a wave of relief after finally explaining a concept to an eager student. So he invited the protagonist to ask him anything without fear, even sharing that he's still a part of Deloa Magic University and has access to a mountain of hidden knowledge. Zeke is shocked to find the professor connected to Deloa, the magical nation that created magic, since he never thought they were involved. He accepts Phantom's offer, figuring there is no harm in getting close to a powerful mage. He thinks a mage who knows their math is a brilliant mind to have as a partner rather than a bored knight. He's hoping the professor will come in handy down the road. The moment Zeke steps out of the academy, he sees Dexter and knows the guy is already losing his patience after just 1 week. Dexter asks if it's finally over. Before the protagonist can speak, he silences the kid and starts asking why he didn't bring him to the greenhouse. Dexter waited for the clue to drop when the other guy said he was ready to teach something useful. Zeke repeats himself to make it clear he's not interested. Dexter gets annoyed and acts like a kid, but Zeke insists Dexter is special and just busy with training, so a fight would be tough. Yet Dexter suddenly changes his mind, dashes behind Zeke, and knocks him out with a lightning-fast strike that leaves the protagonist no time to react. After a while, he wakes up and can't believe he was knocked out so easily, thinking Dexter must have been fed up with waiting all week. Zeke looks around and realizes he's already standing in the western greenhouse. Dexter leans in to ask if he has finally woken up. Zeke shouts that this is kidnapping, but the careless man only laughs and proudly admits he wants our boy. Zeke stops hiding his lack of patience and keeps pushing forward with his fast steps, knowing this isn't the right time to give up yet. Suddenly, Dexter steps right in front of the kid, catching him totally off guard. Zeke tries to run again but gets caught easily by Dexter, so instead of giving up, he laughs and asks why Dexter seems so focused on him. The man tells him about his crazy ability to heal himself. Zeke smiled and finally figured out what was really going on. He dares the man to make him speak the truth. Suddenly gone, Dexter leaves Zeke confused until a sword slices through the air from behind, which Zeke catches just in time, prompting the mysterious stranger to appear and suggest they turn this boring challenge into a bet. Dexter dares him to touch just one thread of his clothes if he truly wants his wish come true. With a face full of fear, the man threatens to dig up every secret Zeke is keeping if he loses the challenge. After 3 straight hours of non-stop fighting, Dexter starts to wonder how the kid has so much energy left. The guy realizes that Zeke isn't just built to last, but that he's truly unstoppable. He can heal and bounce back from anything, making him unstoppable. After crawling back to his feet, he instantly uses his endless energy and healing powers to keep fighting all day. Yet he admits that even these amazing skills won't guarantee him a win. He remembered the dragon skill and held back from using it because it felt too dangerous. Zeke feels confident that his secret trick will work even against a Black Knight. His eyes shift sharply as he gears up to strike again and keep the fight going. Dexter stares into his own cold eyes and gets pumped up because this is exactly how a fight should feel. Our boy glows with a purple light, takes swift steps to rush forward, and lands an attack. Dexter looks past the boy's quick moves, admitting he's faster than before but reminding himself that this kid is nothing compared to the monsters he used to fight. But he notices the crazy hatred in the protagonist's eyes, a fierce anger that is far stronger than any kind of stubbornness. He falls in love with it and chooses to share a piece of his own aura. Suddenly, our boy taps into the dragon's own power and catches him off guard. Dexter snaps his sword and shoves the opponent backward, but in the sudden shock, he can't believe what just happened. He mixes the dust around him to vanish and wonders if Zeke found a way to block his view, doubting that our boy could ever find him through such a thick wall of grit. By using the dragon eyes, the hero spots where his enemy is hiding and leaps out to strike from behind. He finally lands a hit, only to watch the Black Knight vanish in an instant, leaving him shocked and realizing it must be the Duke's secret trick that lets him move faster than the wind itself. Finally grasping why Dexter is called the Gale Knight, the protagonist freezes in thought only to be ambushed from behind, where his opponent effortlessly calls it a draw before dismantling him and ending the fight. The system warns that his overuse of skills has pushed his fatigue beyond safe limits, so it is forcibly shutting down his mind to protect him. Zeke's sight starts to fade, and when he tries to stand, he can't move at all. A few hours later, he wakes up and realizes he's back in his own room. Our boy thinks the Duke must have brought him right to this place. He feels bad about losing, but he thinks this is all the Black Knight could be expected to do. Zeke kept throwing his best, even using the same trick over and over to catch people off guard, but he still lost. And the moment he got a chance, he sprang into action, roaring with the dragon's power and glowing with its fierce eyes to finally strike a blow. Even though he tried everything he could, he knew Dexter's final trick was his one secret move. Zeke regrets getting knocked out from using his own dangerous tricks, but he's still happy to have seen Dexter's secret move and that unbelievable speed. It was that very same trick that let Andre climb so high even though he ran out of breath easily. Zeke sighs with regret over missing his chance to learn something he desperately wanted, yet he still manages to feel a little bit satisfied. He knows that the dragon's power, which once made a Black Knight pause, will absolutely destroy any weaklings if they ever face it. Zeke gets a message from the system. He checks everything and learns his steps have grown stronger, his soul has matured, and now he can unlock any new system feature whenever he has enough karma points. Suddenly, he is surprised to find that with enough karma points, he can unlock a mini-map, an inventory, and a quest book. Zeke calmly takes his time to figure out what all the sudden things are. He purchases the inventory first, and the system then shows him how to simply think of an item's name or shape to store or retrieve it, explaining everything along the way. So, the hero picks up his sword and puts it away in his pack. With just a thought, he enchants the sword and pulls it into his inventory, making it vanish from his hand and appear instantly in his bag. He finally gets what the instructions mean and focuses on his sword to pull it free. The claymore suddenly materialized in his hands, blowing away his guess that it was just a simple storage item. He remembers looking for a safe spot to hide the special object he carried in his previous life. He discovers that he can simply use his karma points to boost his storage space, a trick that turns out to be a basic ability reserved for low-rank admins. The hero is stunned and curious about what powers he'll unlock as a top leader, but he knows karma points are too valuable to waste on anything foolish without thinking it through first. He changes his plans just as Dexter arrives to ask to come in, and Zeke, though surprised, lets him in so the butler can share the message for our boy. The man told Zeke that if he explains the gift came from the garden keeper, Dexter, Zeke will get it. Our boy smiles, knowing his hard work wasn't wasted, and as he reads the invitation, Dexter tells him to come back whenever he's ready for another challenge. He recalls the man calling it a draw before beating him up, feels pumped because he still has a great chance, and the butler reveals he found the blacksmith Zeke mentioned, only for Zeke to ask about the appointment while the butler admits it fell through since the blacksmith refused to see anyone. Zeke was shocked at first, but then realized the man had stopped making weapons. The next day, Zeke walked up to the blacksmith shop he used to know from his past life. He chuckles at the name and walks into the shop. He calls out to see if anyone is home. In a past life, the protagonist wielded a legendary sword called the Radiance of Graham, a masterpiece forged by Galleon, a blacksmith so gifted he could hear a client's soul before crafting a weapon that perfectly replaced ether with the aura the hero desperately needed to survive. Once the continent's greatest blacksmith, Galleon looks nothing like a hero now, leaving Zeke deeply disappointed to find him wasted and drunk. Galleon spots the kid and tells him to leave, gruffly saying it's not a place for teenagers. Zeke knew the guy had a bad attitude, but he wasn't ready for this level of moodiness, and he started wondering what happened to Galleon before he met our boy in his past life. Zeke didn't even think twice before dumping a bucket of water right on the drunk man's head. Zeke sneered with arrogance and asked if he had finally woken up. He insists on knowing why he was turned down. Galleon snaps out of it and sees it's Zeke Draker standing right in front of him. He immediately drops to the ground and apologizes for being rude. He starts shaking with terror and keeps apologizing, knowing that a clumsy blacksmith like him can't trust he'll ever make anything good for others when he can't even make what he wants for himself. Zeke was surprised to see the famous blacksmith had finally stopped taking commissions for a while, and even great heroes have their off days. Zeke suddenly remembers that the guy was already a legendary blacksmith when he met Galleon, likely keeping his past failures secret out of shame, but Zeke has no time to wait around as Galleon starts spiraling into an existential panic until Zeke snaps him out of it. The nervous guy apologizes for being rude, but Zeke waves it off and insists on seeing the weapons he messed up. As the blacksmith leads him to the back, the protagonist knows he must help the sad stranger find his way. As they step into the backyard, Galleon apologizes for the mess, but Zeke tells him not to worry because it actually looks awesome. After Galleon thanks him, Zeke starts looking around at the swords, but Galleon warns him to be careful since they're still sharp. Our boy keeps looking around and realizes they aren't failures at all. They possess the same quality he once forged when he was the best in the entire continent. Zeke's glowing dragon eyes let him see right through everything. He spots something odd and asks the guy if he has any problems with his underwear. Galleon is shocked to know the truth, but Zeke just tells him to speak up. He even shows how the guy melts things down using his own special tricks. He watches Galleon blend different metals together to make something both lighter and tougher. Zeke snaps a broken sword in half and laughs at how weak it is. He explains that the real problem is that many impurities weren't removed properly while forging the sword, and Galleon is shocked that Zeke didn't just see through his entire method at once. He didn't even try to hide the big problems and why they happened. Galleon gets a sudden idea and calls Zeke, knowing it might sound strange, but he's still going to make his request. While Zeke asked what the blacksmith was doing, the smith showed him a blueprint and shared all his secrets without a second thought. Zeke remembers that the guy from his past life showed him this same blueprint, which is called the magic brayer. Galleon didn't want to keep his secrets from the person who saved his life, so he showed him the blueprint again, just like he did before. Zeke thinks this will make the smelting perfect, and while Galleon expected our boy to see it coming, Zeke is puzzled that he hasn't started using the blueprint he already has. Galleon admits he's still missing the most crucial piece, even though the magic tower demands a hefty fee of 10,000 gold coins. Even a typical family barely manages on 10 golds a month, yet this amount is 10 times their usual spending. Our boy finally gets why it took him a decade to succeed, and he admits the price he paid was absolutely crazy. Galleon knows what he's about to say sounds crazy, but since he's a Draker and a pure-blooded awakener, he's hoping Zeke can help him get his hands on the brayer. As long as he lives, he's ready to take on any job for nothing. Zeke realizes he can't fulfill such a huge request on his own since he isn't the family's guardian knight, even though he is pure blood, so he turns to Graham the Sword of Radiance for a solution after recognizing that mana energy laws are the real problem. Suddenly, an incredible idea strikes him, and he jumps at the chance to take on the request. Zeke grabs the blueprint, though Galleon still can't quite believe what he's seeing. Our boy promises he knows a mage who can help, and he'll tell Graham if it works. As Zeke tries to leave, the grateful man on his knees begs him to stop drinking, crying that he will serve the hero his whole life just to make it work, while Zeke shakes his head in disbelief at the steep fees demanded by the mage tower for such an easy job. He remembers that Phantom's major is tied to this, so he tries to picture his research lab, but while searching, he spots something strange happening in the alley. A kid gets absolutely crushed by a group of bullies. He begged for forgiveness, tears streaming down his face. Suddenly, the hero remembers how this exact scene played out in his past life, and after grinding his teeth in frustration, he turns to investigate the dark alley. Leon yells that the poor kid is nothing but trash and keeps pounding on him. He takes his frustration and anger meant for Zeke and turns it onto the poor victim instead. Leon refuses to admit defeat and, while stomping his victim's head into the ground, shouts that the fight is over. Leon thinks his loss wasn't his fault because he was caught off guard by the surprise attack, but he calls it just a lucky break and refuses to accept that Zeke truly deserves the title of a pure-blooded awaker. The moment Zeke steps forward and speaks, Leon's face shifts instantly. The hero sneers with pride, but his face hardens and his eyes turn freezing cold as he commands the bullies to drop to their knees or face death. Leon calls him out for his arrogance and questions his real awakening, but the protagonist silences him with a terrifying command to bow down or face his wrath. Lion shivers as his words make his spine tingle with cold fear. He trembles with fear and sweats, yet the bully can't understand why he feels so crushed, especially since Zeke was just nobody a few months ago. Leon clenched his teeth in rage and snapped that the other guy was nothing but an inferior worm. He yells at his minions to charge and hit the hero right away, but Zeke doesn't flinch even though he's about to get punched. He gives them one final warning and sidesteps the punch with ease. Our boy knocks out the first guy, steps forward, and beats the next one. Zeke catches the kid flying at him, tosses him back, and easily wipes out the whole gang in a flash. As Leon watches the show, he sweats in fear, struggling to believe this is the Zeke he once knew. The protagonist walks up to him, puffs out his chest, and tells the nervous guy not to worry since it will only sting for a split second. Leon draws his sword in terror and tells the protagonist to step back or he'll get hurt. Zeke reminds him of the rules for drawing a weapon in the training zone. The coward sweats in panic and loses his voice just to avoid Lion's deadly sword, which he has drawn right outside the holy training grounds. Zeke shouts that he's ready to fight for his honor, draws his sword, and declares that the battle won't stop until one of them is dead. The one who strikes first owns the danger that follows, leaving the other person blameless no matter what happens next. Zeke turns the battered goon named Liam into their witness and then throws down the first punch. But the timid bully steps in to stop him and apologizes. Leon shits his pants and pleads for one last chance to go free. As our boy remembers his past life, he shouts that Lion is a scumbag and then, in a split second, slices off the bully's ear to settle the score. Leon screams in agony as the ruthless hero warns him not to reattach his body part, or he'll have his head chopped off next time they meet. So the victim calls Zeke to ask why he went out of his way to save the guy. Our boy just shrugged it off because he wasn't helping anyone. He took a little something for himself. As he walks away, he wonders if Galleon really changed him after he almost blurted out something embarrassing. But when he finally tracks down the professor, he asks if it can be done. Phantom gives a straight answer and says it can be done, but Zeke lets the guy stop our hero to make sure he hears what he has to say. Phantom admits the outside design is easy enough, but the real trouble is the heart of the machine, which must be strong enough to generate the power we need. The core is called the machine's heart, and even though its strange rules make it look tiny, it actually gulps down a ton of energy and must fire its power on the exact right beat. Zeke gets it all and wonders if there's a way to pull it off. The professor says they have two choices. He could tweak the design to fix the core, but he admits that job would take 10 or even 15 years, which leaves Zeke stunned and the professor shaking his head at just how long it really is. He keeps going, saying the second trick lets them skip rebuilding the core by swapping in a different kind of stone, which saves tons of time but requires a rare high-compression mana stone. Zeke finds the news ridiculous and jumps up immediately, remembering that this ancient artifact is so rare that no modern technology could ever make another one. Phantom tells him that finding such rare materials in a ruin is nearly impossible without paying a steep 3,000 gold to get their hands on a stone that will work with their original design, leaving Zeke speechless. He can't help but scratch his head as he admits that 15 years isn't enough time to earn 3,000 gold coins. And even though he'd rather not give up, the reality is he can't afford to ignore the blacksmith anymore. Everyone thinks he can use aura because of what happened during the blessing, but the truth is he just faked it by using his ether power and healing skills. He still can't change the fact that he can't control aura, which is a power too wild for normal humans, meaning he's stuck just strengthening his sword with Spirit of the Soul and swinging it around instead of using proper aura-based moves, so he has to find a way to get his hands on Graham, the Sword of Radiance. Zeke is still fuming and can't stop thinking about the Mona Stone, desperate for a way to solve the mystery. Phantom is totally blown away and thinks the person who drew those blueprints must be amazing. He calls it a brilliant design and insists that even back in the Golden Age, few could have built something like this. Zeke hears what's being said, and suddenly, a new idea pops into his head. He stands up and tells the professor to take care of the design while he's gone. The baffled professor asks if Zeke wants him to spend 15 years redoing the design, but Zeke clarifies that he's already brought one. He speaks with confidence, saying he knows exactly how to find a mana stone that packs a powerful punch. The Golden Age began when humans finally broke free from dragon rule, and it lasted a full century until the evil dragon Bahamut was slain by Turken Draker, bringing true peace to the world. But during that time, the ancient relics discovered inside the dragon's lair became the remnants of the